Welcome to a new devlog. This time I'll be working on making city buildings satisfying. For anyone that's new, I'm making a game about forging a medieval community with intelligent AI villages. Specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the contribution part of city building, as I'll be implementing the actual placement of buildings and all those shenanigans another time. For contribution, satisfaction can be gained in 3 places: the act of contributing, the moment of finishing construction, and the reward of the construction. Let's start with the act of contribution. At the moment, there is no animation. All that happens is that the counter of fulfilled materials goes up, and every few pieces you see a visual update. Let's add a hammer animation. This animation was harder to pin down, so I decided to record myself to better inspect the still frames at different angles. Fun fact, somehow this stretching motion ended up pulling my back muscles so hard that for the rest of the day I basically became physically incapacitated. Anyways, so I finished the animation and I like it a lot. For the sound effect, I find a few on free sounds and play a random one when the hammer hits. Since the villager can contribute at any point in the building, add a cloud-like special effect to mask the exact position and target of the animation and make it look less weird. But let's also get some feedback from the community. Currently, you interact with the building sign to bring up the contribution UI, but I've changed this so you can interact with the whole construction building instead. That way, the animation properly connects. Likewise, I had to update the villagers to pathfind to the new building and actually turn to face it. However, this would mean they always go to the same spot, so there's a small detail here where I kind of pick a random position alongside the building. Okay, let's make the moment of finishing construction more satisfying. Since one of the core values of this game is building a community, I want to engage a number of villagers in this by allowing them to clap to congratulate the success. I already have a clapping animation from Mixamo, but as I've recently changed the character models, I need to fix the animation arm span. To trigger the clapping animation, I determine who's close to the building by spawning a cylinder collider at the building location and triggering the celebration in all of the villagers that collide with it. Okay, great, this is a good functional start. Of course, they need to turn to face the building, and the animation should properly loop for the duration of the clap, which I'm going to let the villagers choose randomly to make it a little bit more natural. Now for the fun part, creating that natural crowd clapping sound effect. It's good that I frequently save. The first version doesn't sound great. To make it better, each villager starts clapping at a different time. I need a few different sound effects. I need a lot of different sound effects, and they need to be consistent. Wow, this sounds much better. I feel satisfied. To improve the reward of the construction, I'm going to add a cool new building. A tower. For me, these tall structures are one of the most satisfying to see in a medieval city. I started by doing some research on the look and feel. There's 2 main styles, open structure and walled structure. I settled with a closed style because I don't want to have to create and deal with a ladder animation. Okay, it just looks way too small. Let's upscale this. In general, I've been wanting to do a better job at capturing this feeling of being within this big medieval city, so this definitely looks better. I was also thinking that when I implement upgrading buildings, I'll split the asset into a tier 1 that can later upgrade into a tier 2. So from the feedback over the last couple of days, the biggest request was to speed up the animation. So I tried a few different variations. 3 seems too fast and 1.5 doesn't seem like enough of a difference, so I chose 2x. All of this has been a lot of work inside an apartment box. Perhaps I could creatively benefit from a change of scenery. I want to make the visual progress more fun. Instead of using separate unibody meshes for different construction stages, I'm going to break the tower down into a complete list of individual plank meshes. This allows me to very gradually change the look by showing down to one piece at a time. Logically, this will work by converting the number of items completed into the number of tower pieces to show. I can make the transition even more gradual. Why not on every hammer hit? Brownie points if you can animate the piece being added. Right, let's head back. So it's all good testing the individual interactions, but I also want to test everything put together and how it plays out over an actual game. So let's run time-lapse focused on the construction. So the problem is that villagers just don't want to contribute. The way they choose what to do is based on interest, and they're just not interested. As a temporary measure, I made contributing much more likable. As a proper fix, I want to eventually economically incentivize building. And to make it easier to test, I also decreased the requirement from 20 pieces of wood to 10. Finally, it worked, but it took a few runs to do so. Here's one reason. Because wood is required to contribute, a villager has to have wood, and for a villager to have wood, they need to enjoy gathering it. In one case, a villager who used to enjoy gathering and contributing had a bad experience chopping down a tree. I don't know, he chopped off his hand or something. This meant he stopped gathering wood and ultimately meant he couldn't contribute. Terrific. Now, a crucial part to the construction reward is giving the constructed building utility. In the case of a tower, well, it's being able to use it to gain higher ground and a better view of the village or nearby surroundings. The first step is adding a door to enter the tower. Next is making that door interactable. There's a few more things involved. Fortunately, for the entering and exiting animations, I already have implemented this for the day and night cycle where you enter a house to sleep, so I just have to refactor it to make it a little bit more generic. With placement in the tower, I add one position on each side of the tower, and add a queue to control the availability of them. Then for exiting the tower, the player can press the interact button again. For the villagers, I make them choose the time they want to spend in the tower, which can be anywhere from a few seconds to a minute. As a final little detail, I added a UI sound effect when you click on the item you want to contribute. Here's a few things I'll eventually work on for even more satisfaction. Random names for the buildings like the Crossroads Inn or the Shipyard Tower, having villagers congratulate you in conversation, different sound effects depending on the material being contributed, and improving the UI. But if there's anything you think can make it even more satisfying that I haven't listed, feel free to leave it in the comments. If you like the idea of this game, you can now wishlist it on Steam. And if you want to follow for weekly updates, I regularly post on Reddit and Instagram. That's it. Thanks for watching.